Welcome to the JTV Caribbean News. I am Sean Rose. A historic meeting in Havana between United States President Barack Obama and his Cuban counterpart Raul Castro on March 21 confirmed the deep differences that remain between the two countries, but the leaders have committed to further deepening of relations. A day after landing in Cuba and becoming the first sitting American president to visit the island in 88 years, Obama held talks with Castro before the two faced the media at a press conference. According to Caribbean360.com, Obama said that after more than 5 very difficult decades, the relationship between the two governments could not be transformed overnight. Obama said while the U.S. recognized progress that Cuba has made, particularly in education and healthcare, it also intended to speak out on behalf of universal human rights, including freedom of speech and assembly and religion. The Cuban government has been accused of holding political prisoners, but Castro suggested that his administration has no such detainees. Castro told reporters to give him the list of political prisoners and he will release them immediately. Castro continued to defend his country's record, stressing that human rights also involved ensuring that citizens get decent education and health care. Obama also announced several areas of cooperation that he and Castro had agreed on. They include partnerships in health, science, and the environment. After 5 days of protest and strike action over planned immigration changes, the Bermuda government has agreed to withdraw the controversial Pathways to Status legislation. The Pathways to Status initiative, which the ruling One Bermuda Alliance was trying to implement, seeks to allow people not born in Bermuda but working there for at least 15 years to gain permanent residency and then citizenship after 20 years. But it faced stiff opposition from various groups who insisted there should have been wider consultations on the proposals. Premier Michael Dunkley said the Bermuda government will press the reset button on the immigration reform schedule, setting the stage for wider input in specific reform proposals.
Consultative working groups comprising key stakeholders will set up to discuss the various elements of the bill and to make recommendations. The principles of the original bill will form the basis of their terms of reference. The working groups are to submit their input to a fixed schedule that will allow Parliament to consider immigration reforms in stages through the current session to the start of the next session in November.
Last week, more than 1,000 protesters linked hands and surrounded the Parliament building, preventing legislators from entering to debate the Bermuda Immigration and Protection Amendment Act 2016, which would have facilitated the changes. Commonwealth policymakers met in St. Lucia this week, hoping to clamp down on cybercrimes in the Caribbean. Participants of the 3-day meeting, which included representatives of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, and Interpol, hope to develop a regional action plan to tackle cybercrime.
According to the Commonwealth Secretariat, major cybercrimes in the Caribbean in the last few months included the theft of $150 million from an international bank, and hackers infecting tax authorities, blocking users from accessing their systems and demanding money. In May 2015, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines had its website hacked by individuals who claimed to be ISIS supporters. This week, Legal Affairs, ICT and National Security ministers joined attorneys general and IT experts from the Caribbean and international organizations at a forum intended to address the challenges of cybersecurity. The executive director of CARICOM Impact says as society becomes more aware of the benefits of computerization, those with ill intent can identify weaknesses.
Computer crime today is big business. Just ask the lottery scammers who purchase lists of potential targets from those who steal people's personal information via the internet. My own credit card information was recently stolen, so I claim victim right here.
Stephen Malby heads the Law Development Section of the Rule of Law Division at the Commonwealth Secretariat. He says that cybercriminality poses a number of challenges to governments and international crime-fighting organizations.
Individual victimization for many forms of cybercrime, such as hacking of an email account, identity theft, or online credit card fraud, was significantly higher than for conventional crimes, such as burglary, robbery, and car theft. In almost all cases, victimization rates were higher in developing countries than developed countries.
St. Lucia's Technology Minister Dr. James Fletcher quoted the 2016 Cybersecurity Report for Latin America and the Caribbean, which states that the majority of countries are not adequately prepared to counteract cybercrime.
We fall short in prevention and mitigation of criminal or malicious activity risks in cyberspace. The analysis of 49 indicators shows that several countries in our region are vulnerable to potentially devastating cyber attacks. 4 out of 5 countries do not have cybersecurity strategies or critical infrastructure protection plans. 2 out of 3 do not use command centers and cybersecurity control. The vast majority of our prosecutors lack the legal capacity to prosecute cybercrime actions. So, if we are to make the most of the so-called fourth industrial revolution, we need to create not only a modern and robust digital infrastructure, but also a secure one. Protecting our citizens from cybercrime is not merely an option. It is a key element for our development.
The meeting began on March 16th and ended on the 18th. It tackled issues such as emerging cyber threats in the Caribbean, child online exploitation, and the need to raise the awareness about the increase in cybercrimes in the region.
The last time Usain Bolt's fans will see him in action on an Olympic track will be in Rio de Janeiro later this year. The 6-time Olympic gold medalist confirmed to German news agency CID that the upcoming summer event in Brazil will be his last. It will definitely be my last Olympics. It's going to be hard to go 4 more years for me to keep the motivation that I want, especially if I accomplish what I want to in Rio, the 29-year-old Bolt is quoted as saying. There had been speculation that the Sprint King may have continued his racing career into the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo, Japan. But Bolt, who took gold in the 100-meter and 200-meter races, as well as the 400-meter relay in the last 2 Olympics in Beijing and London, says he wants to add another 3 gold medals to his collection from Rio. My biggest dream at the Olympics is to win 3 gold medals again. That's my focus. That's what I want, he told CID. His other goal is to break the 19-second barrier in the 200 meters before retiring in the next 4 years. And finally, in this week's Caribbean news segment, telecommunications provider Digicel announced a whopping $380 million 4-year sponsorship package of the Reggae Boys Road to Russia World Cup campaign. The announcement was made on Wednesday, March 23rd at the Digicel headquarters in Kingston, Jamaica. There will be bonuses for the players for every match won or drawn, David Butler, Digicel's CEO, revealed. Jamaica on 3 points from 2 games played Costa Rica, who are on 6 points on Friday, March 25th at the National Stadium as they continue their journey to qualify for the 2018 World Cup in Russia. That's it for the JTV Caribbean news segment. I am Sean Rose.
And coming up next on JTV News. The House of Assembly passes the 2016 budget as Premier Smith assures that increments for public servants are not included in government's cost-cutting measures. Elmore Stout High School team wins citizenship by investment debate. And in our Hot Trends feature, Sophie B learns about stress and health at the Rotary Health Expo.